Have you noticed that much of what we see in the sales world today is antisocial? Pitch slaps, false compliments, inauthenticity, and sometimes outright disinformation? Welcome to the All Selling is Social podcast, where we look at ways that we can be social in our selling efforts, no matter how we're reaching out. Each week, we talk to top sales leaders and trainers to learn what's working for them, how we can learn to talk with people, not talk at them. Join your host, Bill McCormick, and let's develop a sales game that feels as good as it works. Let's get social.
Hey everyone, welcome to the All Selling is Social podcast. I have got my good friend Mark Hunter on with me today. Mark is also known as the Sales Hunter. He's a consultative selling expert and the author of not one, not two, but 3 books. They are High Profit Selling, High Profit Prospecting, and his most recent one, A Mind for Sales, Daily Habits and Practical Strategies for Sales Success. I could go on and on. There's so much that I could say about him, but I want you to hear from him. So Mark, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. We're going to have a good time because I tell you what, being just who you are is more important than ever in this AI-driven world that we're in. So we're going to have a good conversation. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably talk about that, those 2 little letters that you just said. But so in terms of that, finding out who you are, I love your backstory of how you got into sales. So if you could just share that with my listeners, I think they would be really appreciative of that.
Yeah, I'll give you the 30-second version. Yes, my last name is Hunter. I'm known as the Sales Hunter. People always say, so it does prove that there's such thing as a born sales hunter. No, that wasn't me at all. Middle school, that was the furthest thing I wanted to do, was be a salesperson, even in high school. But I got to college, that's when I found out. You're listening to the Mindy 95 KQZ. I wanted to be a disc jockey. I was disc jockey in college, but problem is you can't tell your parents that. But anyway, I figured I'd just get a degree in marketing, go to work for an advertising firm and write radio copy. And yeah, you could say I had really high aspirations. So all set to do that. Senior year, just winding up, going to graduate soon. And I wind up getting 4 speeding tickets in the course of about 6 weeks. You might say my career got changed because of the police department. Yeah, 4 speeding tickets. What I mean by career change, I couldn't afford car insurance. I got a notice from my insurance company that it was going through, and I was now being honored by being able to pay that premium monthly. So I had a monthly insurance premium, monthly car payment, and rent. I couldn't afford all 3. So I had to find a job that gave me a company car. That's how I wound up in sales. Yeah, that's it.
And what was your first sale? What did you sell first?
Sides of beef to restaurants. Yes. I mean, basically, I was selling T-bone steaks. I was selling ground beef. I was selling all that sort of stuff to restaurants, etc. I had no clue what I was doing. I got fired from that sales job, got a second sales job, second company car, got fired from that job. Finally, my 3rd sales job, I thought I was going to get fired from that one, 3rd company car. And the big guy in the company sat me down and said, you don't really understand what sales is. And I didn't want to tell him, but yeah, I agreed. I didn't. And he said, you're not taking the time to learn the customer. You're not taking the time to understand them. You're not taking the time to get to know them. Gee, isn't that shocking? Isn't that amazing?
What a concept.
Yeah, because my whole view of sales had been customers are bowling pins. My job is just to knock them down, take their money, and run. No, it's to create a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what time frame was this, if you don't mind dating and aging yourself?
Yeah, this was I was like 22, 23, 24 years of age, at that time. I mean, I was just right out of college. I mean, I was broke as can be. I mean, the company car was everything to me.
So mid 80s?
Mid 80s, yeah. This was and you know what? It was a fun time in sales because oh wow, things have changed. No, they really haven't changed. But it was about having conversations. And once I realized it's about having conversations and just being you, it's not about your product, it's being you. That's when the light bulbs really began to change. And more so today than ever. It's not about your product. Because anybody can find your product on the internet, right?
Right.
You got to create you.
I agree. And so I came up in sales in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was so great that you had a mentor, somebody that would say that to you, because all of my sales managers and trainers were just all about you've got to do this many calls or you've got to pull this many doors, and it's all about the numbers. And if there wasn't a talk about relationship. And so, I think it's so important to have people to speak the truth into our lives rather than just you got to do what the big wigs are telling you.
That is so true because, I mean, sales is a numbers game because at the end of the day, it's about the activities. I always say our quota is like the scoreboard, on the football field. But to put points on the board, you got to run plays on the field. The plays on the field
Right.
are the activities that we do, the calls we make,
Hmm.
meetings we have, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a repetition to it. No ifs, ands, buts about it. But they got to be meaningful because otherwise you're just going through the
Yeah.
motions.
Yeah, that's what it's about. So does that where the is that where the idea of consultative selling comes in?
Yes, I think it is because here at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves two questions. One, am I helping the customer in a way that other people can't help them? Now, if I'm just selling a product, they can find that from anywhere. So I have to be able to help them in a way. And that means I'm bringing them insights, I'm sharing with them, I'm giving them a level of confidence that they're not getting from somebody else. And what's very interesting is it's all about creating trust. In the absence of trust, low price is everything. Think about that for a moment.
There's the
Yeah,
quote of the
yeah.
day.
In the absence of trust, low price is everything. So trust is the currency of business. You have to have this level of trust, and if it isn't there, it's gone.
Yeah.
You, you know, you may complete this sale on low price, but somebody else will come along with a lower price, and guess what? Your business is gone.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And you talk about helping. So many times I receive voicemail messages or an email or a LinkedIn message about how someone wants to help me. But really, when you get down to it, what they're trying to do is they want to help me sign a contract or they want to help me open my wallet. So how can we as sales professionals really show in a consultative manner how we can help?
Yeah, first of all, it comes down to, hey, it's not talking about your product, it's not talking about your service until you really understand what the need is that the customer has. Put away the capabilities presentation, put away all that sort of stuff. And ask the customer, what are the challenges that you're facing? What else have you tried? What's the risk if you don't achieve this? What's the upside? What's the downside? Let them talk. Let them put it all out on the table. And then and only then do you begin talking about your product. Even if the customer says, "Hey, great to meet you. Tell me about what it is that you got." No, hold it. First of all, I don't even know if what I have is right for you. Tell me about your business. Tell me about what's going on.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I run into that a lot because many people, when they're talking about using and leveraging LinkedIn for a sales team, it's to check a box. All right. So we did this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always careful to say, no, let's first talk about why you want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's very, very important. I want to shift gears here and talk about one of your specialties, which is cold calling or phones, because it's not something I do. I don't cold call. It's just, I have in the past, not a fan. I don't know many people that are. But so first, let's settle let you answer this question. Is cold calling dead? Is the
Yes.
phone dead?
Yes. No, the phone is not dead. Phone is
Hmm.
alive and well. Cold calling is dead. What it's replaced with is by what I call warm calling, because this is the
Hmm.
whole thing. I am not randomly going to call people. I only call people if I know I can help them. Here's a phrase I love to use. If I know I can help someone, I have an obligation to reach out to them. Let's flip this around. Bill, if you knew that I had a problem, and trust me, my kids would tell you that dad's got a lot of problems, and you had a solution for me, I would want you to reach out to me. If I found
Right.
out later that you could have helped me and you didn't, I'd be disappointed. See,
Hmm.
we owe it to be. So it comes down to really understanding who can benefit, not who can buy from you, but who benefits from you. Who can you help? Because the definition of sales is helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Think about that for a moment. So what
Hmm.
does that mean? That if I can help you, so because of the internet, because of all this stuff, I can get, if I was going to call you, I could go out and within 30 seconds, I could find quite a bit of information out about you, and
Hmm.
I could make a call. And the call I'm making is not, "Hi, I'm Mark Hunter, and I want to sell you something." No, I'm calling you and say, "Bill, got some insights, got some information that I think will be of interest to you." And I'm going to stay on that path. I'm going to stay on that course. I'm going to share with you insights. I may have to do this 5, 10, 15 times. Email, phone, various methods, social media, however it might be. And it's going to vary by industry and, et cetera, et cetera. But the idea being is that I'm not talking about my great product. I'm talking about helping you. And to me, that's being authentic because I truly want to help you. Then we'll have a conversation. Then I can get my product or my service on the table.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point that it's just not the phone, right? So you mentioned several things, and what I say all the time is sales methodologies are so much like golf clubs in a golf bag. You're never going to use you're never going to use your putter off the tee, right? Unless mini golf, but we're not talking about that. You use the right club for the right shot that you need to make, and it's the same. But I think there's for a long time when we were cutting our teeth in sales, you either went and pulled doors or you picked up the phone and you
Yeah.
cold called. That was it. And there's still that remnant of that's left over. I still work with agencies and sales teams that they still have a minimum amount of dials that they have to do a day. I'm sure you do also. So I'm curious if there's a salesperson who's listening and they've got that salesman who says, okay, it's 50 dials a day, 100 dials a day. How do you break that into, okay, we're not going to do 50 cold calls a day. How do you introduce warm calling into that? I guess especially with the sales leadership, how do you break that idea that cold calling is the way?
Yeah. Well, okay. We'll say that you have a goal of 100 calls, and that's a beast. That's a beast of a number. I mean, I
Sure.
know teams that can get to 120 and 130, but I don't recommend that. Anyway, you're going to be breaking your calls down into three different stacks. Three different stacks.
Mm.
One are truly people, they don't know you, so you are just reaching out to them, and that's going to be probably the bulk of your dials. Two, there are going to be follow-up dials where people are actually, there's kind of a warm lead there, and you really are kind of trying to put that over the top. And then three, they're the ones that you've got a scheduled conversation, you've got something happening with. Now, here's the situation. 3/4 of your calls are going to be those cold, warm calls. And you're going to probably have almost the same talking point for each call. Now, the reason you can do this is because you're calling the exact same. I'm calling 50 bills today. I'm not calling Bill, Bob, Tom. I'm calling Bill. I'm calling bills, 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 bills,
Mhm.
bills. So I can do that. Where we get into trouble is when we hop from Bill to Tom to Janet to Susie to Jose. I mean, hold it, slow down,
Right.
stay absolutely focused. This is where I say prospecting works best when you understand your ideal customer profile. In other words, who is the type of customer that you know you can benefit, you can help. That's where you stay. And the tighter you can make that niche, the better off you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's fantastic. And so, I talk a lot about the antisocial things that are happening in the world of sales today, and we see it a lot on LinkedIn. We see it a lot in our email inbox or in our junk folder the most, hopefully, because that's where that stuff belongs. But I'm curious of what you see on the phone that's happening that's antisocial.
Well, yeah, what I see happening is these long drawn out where they want to go into this whole dissertation on a voicemail to you. No. I mean, first of all, if I'm leaving and I do recommend leaving a voicemail, people, well, nobody listens to voicemail. Yeah, but you know what? Many times it gets translated to text. So I'm still going to go through the effort.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a 12 to 14 second voicemail. Bill, got some insights for you that I think will help your business in terms of scaling your podcast. I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Center. Call me. Happy to share that with you. That's it. That's it. I leave my phone number and I'm done. It's not complicated. I don't go into this. This is the other problem when people call somebody up and you do answer. Hey, Bill, how's the weather there? Well, excuse me. You know what? You can go out on the internet and see what the weather is in my town. Don't ask me what the weather is. Don't ask me, how was your week? Did you have a good weekend? Come on. Do you really care about my weekend? No, you don't. No, you don't.
No.
If you and
Yeah.
I become acquaintances, there'll be plenty of time to talk weekends, but that ain't happening right now on the first call. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah. And Liz,
I get kind of wound up.
yeah, and so Liz Wendling talked about this on our last episode about people saying that in email, how are you? How have you been? Hope you're doing well. You really don't. You're really just blowing smoke up my butt because you want to get it. You want to. The newest one for me is people telling me that they just saw my post or they just list. I checked out your podcast and it's fantastic. You didn't listen to it. Come on. You say that to all the whatever they are, and I think that comes back to, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, when we used to go meet people in person back in the 80s and 90s, the first thing you were supposed to do is find something in the person's office that you could compliment.
Right.
And here's the thing. That person's meeting with other salespeople and they're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we become just like everybody else. So when you get someone on the phone, what are three things that if you could narrow it down to three top strategies or tips that you could give salespeople to connect quickly with folks?
Yes. One, I am only calling for one reason, to get the next step. Because again, I caught you off guard. Chances of you being willing to talk with me are probably slim to none. So my whole objective is just to create a next step, create enough interest. How do I do that? One, I want to learn something about you. I want to learn something. Just share with me one piece of information that I can use in a follow-up email, I can use in a follow-up voicemail, and I can use certainly if we have a chance to get back together again. Two, I do want to arrange something that, hey, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, can we get time on the calendar, something of that nature. Three, I want to just find one thing out about them and their business that validates I'm speaking to the right person. That's it. Those are the simple three things. Do I get all three of those things in every call? No. But if I can get just one out of those three, it's okay. I'm gonna keep pursuing. What you don't want to do is this. This is what happens. You either call them back up, I'm just touching base, or you send them an email, I'm just checking in. When you send somebody an email, just checking in, isn't that what you do at a hotel? I didn't know, Bill, you run a hotel, and if I send you that note that you're going to tell me my room is not ready. Yeah. Every message we send, every message has to bring new value. But what I love doing is I love starting that new value off by referencing back to something that you shared with me in the previous call.
Right.
Wow,
right.
that connect. I got a quick, funny story. The other day, I going to see my dentist, and sitting down, and my hygienist goes, "Hey, how was the marathon?" I go, and I had to stop and think, but now then I remember. Well, remember you were going to run the Dallas Marathon. Oh yeah. Well, I had talked about that because she's a runner too. And undoubtedly, she had written it in her notes. Now, you don't think that we didn't connect?
Right.
Even though she's playing around with my mouth. Oh, by the way, the dentist walked in, and he made the same comment. Hey, I'm starting to get running again, and how was the marathon? Well, he looked at the notes too. It's
research.
And the customer will tell you things. It's our job just to remember them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that brings me to, before you make a call, how long do you take to research someone, and where do you get your information?
I don't need to go more than about 30 seconds at the most. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. I'm going to look at their LinkedIn profile because that's going to tell me a lot. Two, I'll probably look at their company's website or Google them personally or, their website. And that's really about it. I'm not going to sit there and spend 20 minutes. Now, if I'm chasing a $20 million deal, yeah, I'm going to do a couple hours of research before I make that first call. But,
Sure.
by and large, the majority of calls we make are not of that magnitude. So I got to make it quick. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. All right. So we're going to come in for a landing, but there's one thing that I've been asking a lot of people about recently, and that's about AI, about artificial intelligence, automated intelligence. That's what I refer to it as, and how the good ways you're seeing it work and the not so good ways that you're seeing it work in sales today.
Yeah. I'm going to go one step beyond that. I call it average intelligence. How's that?
I'm
Okay.
going to steal that.
You can steal that because I stole it from Jay Bear. So anyway, okay. Average intelligence. I use it to gain research on an industry. If I'm making a bunch of calls into an industry, I can go to AI and say, hey, what are the 5 big issues impacting this industry? If I've got a really important call with a CEO, I'm going to ask Chat, or Claude or Copilot, whatever one I'm using. Hey, tell me, give me some background information. Now, I can't take that to the bank. It's only directional because again, average intelligence AI can throw a lot of smoke at you, and
Right.
It never seems to not come back with an answer. A lot of times it's just garbage, so you got to be careful. What I don't use it for, I don't use it to write my emails. I don't use it to send my emails. I mean, believe me, those smell. That's worse than commission breath, like our good friend Larry Levine would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
They smell. I see it in LinkedIn, automated responses, automated posts. No, be genuine. So
Yeah.
AI is a starting tool. It's not a finishing tool. Starting tool. It's a place to go get research, but it's not a finishing tool. And I can just do it and then send it. Wrong.
Yeah. No, because there's it's garbage in, garbage out. It's
Right.
just pulling, like you said, it's pulling the average information it can find from the internet. And just because it's on the internet, it's not true. I know that might shock a lot of people, especially people who spend a lot of time on Facebook. But yeah. So that's kind of the same thing with me. I was very anti-AI for a while, and then I realized I was doing exactly what I tell people not to do. I was in this anti-AI echo chamber, and so then I had to expand and talk to suppose Todd Capone, and that's helped me to understand, okay, there's some good things to do with that. So we're actually out of time, but I first of all just want to thank you for spending some time. If they're the top 5 sales trainers in the world, you are definitely in that list for sure. And so how can folks find more and get more of the Sales Hunter?
Yes. Well, the website is The Sales Hunter and thesaleshunter.com. And like you, I've got a couple of podcasts. One is called The Sales Hunter Podcast. Gee, that's an original name. And the other one is one I co-host with a good friend of mine called Sales Logic. And or you can find me on LinkedIn. Again, just type in, hey, I always say this. If you can't be found by way of Google, you must not be relevant. So
Yeah.
throw my name into Google or Bing or whatever. And chances are I'll come up.
Wonderful. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. And what we'll do is we'll put all those links in the show notes for folks to see and in the notes section of YouTube. So Mark Hunter, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your knowledge with us. And we look forward to the next time we have you on All Selling is Social.
Thank you.